Now, Donald Trump's been in office for only a couple of months now, and already some of his supporters are regretting their decision. Why? Since they're conservatives, they seem to lack all empathy. They only care when it affects them. So we've had a number of those stories out there. Now, before I give you the next one, though, I do want to give you perspective. So for a while, Donald Trump really held his own supporters really well. He's at 45% approval. For a new president, that is disastrous numbers, but relatively near where he came in the first place. And so despite all the stories about Russia and the travel bans and all the different messes, he was holding steady. A recent report came out and said he's lost 3.5% of his own supporters. To me, that's not a big number. And if you wanted to, you could frame it, but they never bothered to ask the question of how many of his own supporters did Obama lose, did Clinton lose? I never even saw that about Bush. So I'm just giving you full context here. Now, at the same time, lately I have seen his poll numbers slipping more significantly, down to 39, and then in a Gallup poll down to 37. So I think he is beginning to lose some of his supporters, only because finally, and we're only 2 months in, some of his actions are actually affecting them. The Russian story, the travel ban doesn't affect them necessarily if it touches them. But Trump care, if that goes into effect, it's gonna affect a lot of them. And also immigration. So that's the story we go to in Indiana. There's a woman named Helen Beristain. In fact, let's go to Law News and they explain her situation. She's a vocal supporter of President Donald Trump. She said in the past that she voted for the president because she agreed with an immigration policy that he promoted. Now, as her husband is about to be deported, oops, her family's on the wrong side of a system she thought would spare them. But why? Helen, why did you think it would spare you? So this is what's so frustrating. They thought, we're the good ones, we're not the bad ones. How many times have we seen that in history? As they continue to explain now, however, after more than a decade of ICE check-ins went by without a problem, and roughly 2 months after Trump took office, Roberto is being deported. So just quick background here to explain. He came in as an undocumented immigrant in the late 1990s. They set up a family here. They set up a business here in Indiana. Yes, their conservative neighborhood likes them. The local government likes them because they're also conservative. But he is undocumented. And he did have one slip up where he went to Canada for Niagara Falls. When coming back, he had to check in. And then they realized he was undocumented. So for years, he has then gone back and reported into ICE. And for all that time, he didn't have trouble until now. So let me tell you more about that. Since Roberto remained in the country instead of voluntarily deporting himself, ICE then had the authority to take him into custody. When ICE stumbled upon this incident in February of this year, they did just that and sent him from his home in Granger, Indiana to a detention facility in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He is set to be deported on Friday. That's tomorrow. Now, they got kids. They got a lot of people who work for them. They got a community who likes them. Sad day. He's in a detention facility, and tomorrow he's gone. And he can't ever come back. His wife voted for Trump, thinking, no, he was only going after the bad guys, not the good guys like us. You think he was gonna make that distinction? But they do, they always think it's not gonna affect me, it's for the other people. And oftentimes in cases like this, the other minorities, the bad ones, not the good ones. In fact, she almost literally says that. But first, let me go to a quote from nearby South Bend, Indiana mayor. He says, he's led an exemplary life and quote, without so much as a traffic ticket against his name. In other words, he was one of the good ones. We meant the other ones were the criminals and the rapists. Okay, now back to the wife. She said, Trump did say the good people would not be deported. The good people would be checked. So you believed him. And by the way, not only did you believe him when you thought he was gonna make that distinction and that he wasn't targeting everyone in your category, that was a huge mistake. When other people warned you about that mistake, you didn't listen to them. Oftentimes you scoffed at them. Now your husband's gonna get deported. And the other part of it that's actually really gets under people's skin is, what do you mean the good ones versus the bad ones? What do you know about the bad ones? What stereotype Have you listened? Does that mean that there are no immigrants in this country that are bad guys who've committed crimes? Of course there are. Everybody knows that. Nobody's naive about that. But you thought he was only going to go after them? He said in the beginning that he was going to stop it all. He told you over and over again, and every once in a while he would tell you pretty little lies about, no, don't worry about it, it's not going to affect you. Oh, when I destroy healthcare, it's not, don't worry, I'll cover everyone. It'll be fantastic, I'll cover them bigly, it'll be tremendous. Your premiums will be lower and everyone will be covered. Now you come to find out 25 million people are going to lose their health insurance. Oops. Now you come to find out, no, he's going to deport everyone he can, including, yes, your husband. Now, it's a super sad story. They explain finally at Law News, in addition to Helen, Roberto will be leaving behind 4 daughters and 20 employees. Look, we warned you not because we had bad intentions and we were trying to trick you. We warned you because we knew what he was going to do, and you didn't seem to get it. Now that it affects you, you apparently get it. Look, I don't know how to feel about this story. I'm torn. Yes, I got to be honest. There's a part of me that thinks, well, you had it coming. You voted for him. You put him in place, and he kicked out your husband. Well, you did that. You did that. Now, but at the same time, it breaks my heart to tell her that. And those 4 daughters didn't have it coming. It wasn't their fault. And now they don't have a dad anymore. He's been deported. So I want to ask you guys. We're doing a poll on it. It's at tytnetwork.com/remorse, and I am genuinely curious which ways you guys are going to vote on this. Should we have sympathy for a Trump voter whose husband is being deported? In the newsroom, everybody was totally split on this. Half the people were screaming, no sympathy, none. And the other half were like, I don't know if we should even do this story. I feel so bad for her. Well, everyone agrees we feel bad for the kids, we feel bad for the husband. But the question is, do you feel bad for the person who voted for Trump that put this into action and now her husband is gone? tytnetwork.com/remorse. Curious to see what happens, and I'll report back to you guys on the results tomorrow. Support independent media and get the whole Young Turks 2-hour show and other network shows all ad-free. tytnetwork.com/join. Come join us today.